Welcome to the Veterans in Politics Talk Show. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook.
Welcome to the Joint Veterans Endorsement Interviews for Non-Judicial Candidates. On the outset, we would like to formally recognize and thank our sponsoring organizations for making today's event possible. Mary Perry, Clark County District Court Family Division Department P, Veterans in Politics International, and Nevada Veterans Association. We'd also like to extend our sincere appreciation to our additional sponsors and community partners whose support helps ensure a professional, fair, and transparent endorsement process. We're honored to have all of you with us today. Before we begin the interviews, I'd like to review the rules of the format. First, each panel member will have an opportunity to introduce themselves and state the organization that they're representing. Then next, I will give you an opportunity to just introduce yourself with some opening remarks. Please include your office that you're running for and explain why you're seeking that position. From there, we'll proceed on to the interview portion of the event. This is not a debate, but there's no one for you to debate since you're the only one here. Thank you for coming. And then when you do answer our questions, just please address the panelists that you are answering. In the interest of fairness, time limits will be strictly enforced for each answer. Each candidate will be given 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer each question. When you have 30 seconds remaining, you'll be shown a yellow card. When your time has expired, you'll be shown a red card. You may finish your sentence, but then please conclude from that point. Afterwards, you'll be given a moment to do some closing remarks. Okay. With that, our first panelist.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Fortune. I'm with Veterans in Politics.
John Brookhagen, representing Veterans in Politics.
Tim Ross, representing Nevada Veterans Association.
Frank Friends, Veterans of Politics and Court Observer.
Martin Walker, Nevada Veterans Association.
My name is Calvin Sandoval. I'm running for Senate District 20 in the state of Nevada. I'm 44 years old and a lifelong resident. I'm seeking to become the first Native American to hold this office. I decided to run because I thought that now is the time. I watched the climate of the country starting to change, and I started getting irritated. And I started trying to contact my own representatives, my own senators. Sometimes they don't get back to you. My whole purpose is, I thought, I think I could do better. You know, I'm a person that believes that communication and transparency is probably the most important things in politics. And it seems like we don't get that like we used to. I'm a guy that wants to say, I want to talk with you and not at you. So that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. And the first question I have for you is pertaining to a lot with the mental health, a lot with our veterans, which are coming back. Also, individuals on the street. You see it a lot with the closures of a lot of our institutions, mental institutions, all that, and everything. Putting these people out in the street, nowhere to turn, and you see them struggling with everyday life. And we see Nevada's numbers, like where we rank, assisting the mental health conditions. And right here, we're very, very low towards the bottom. And my question to you is, how do we counter that? How do we assist these veterans, assist these civilians out here in order to be able to help them, with their conditions?
So, Steve, I thought a lot about that the last few weeks driving around town. And the first thing I saw, I was heading towards the Paiute Reservation. And I drive past Washington, and the first thing we see is an abandoned building. It's a Grant Sawyer building. It's 5 stories. I want to say it's 120,000 square feet. It's slated to be either purchased by a private developer or My thought was, if we have so much weed money going into the general fund, why can't we divert that? Why can't we retrofit the building and utilize that as apartments? We can have full facilities there from top to bottom. We can also have mental health areas in that space so that if people need help, we can have that as transit housing. So that way you go there, you get back on your feet, you're able to go out and you're able to find what you need to find afterwards. But it's being all one-stop shop or something like that. And so I thought, how many other buildings across this state are wide open that nobody uses? So my point would be, let's see what kind of money we can get together, and let's see what we can do to fund these and put these up for veterans.
Thank you very much. My name is John Brookhagen with Veterans in Politics. In the 2025 session, we saw a bipartisan voter ID compromise bill that ultimately didn't become law, despite polling consistently showing that a strong majority of Nevadans, including both Republicans and Democrats, support voter ID requirements. At the same time, elections are fundamentally a state responsibility, but if we don't address concerns at the state level, we risk losing the public trust or inviting outside intervention such as federal voter ID laws. Many voters raise concerns about issues like outdated voter rolls, ballot security, and the integrity of the mail-in voting process, especially as our elections become closer and confidence becomes more important. So do you support implementing voter ID in Nevada? And more so, what specific policies would you put in place to strengthen election integrity and restore public confidence in the system?
So I have to look at election integrity first, and I understand that there's not a whole lot that was done with issues with voting. 50, a couple hundred over the course of the last 40 years, 45 years. I'm a believer that you guys have DMV licenses. You guys have the gold star on there. It's a real ID. I think it's suitable. You show your ID, you go and vote. That's it. There's not a problem. Do I have issues with other people going out there saying, well, I need to have my passport? Not everybody has a passport. We want to make sure that certain people who can vote are able to. I believe, yeah, it's okay to have an ID law, not just verify with signatures, because I know my signatures change over the course of the last 10 years. I don't know about anybody else. Make adjustments. You do what you can. So, yeah, a physical ID where I can look and go, yeah, that's you. I think it's reasonable.
So you support voter ID?
Yes.
Tim Ross for Nevada Veterans Association. And my question is, we have a lot of conflict about this boys and girls sports, men's and women's sports. What is your position on that? And does that represent your district or your party? And are they the same? What's your opinion?
I think boys and girls sports is a tough subject to tackle. Genetically, yes. I don't think it's appropriate or fair for that to happen. You know, I can look at what the politics are of it. Yes, you look at Leah Thomas, who went from, what number were they in? 250th rank of men to becoming an NCAA champion. Do I empathize with Riley Gaines? No, you were fifth. It's what it is. But should they have been there? No. No. Do I support it? Intramurals, yes. Where it matters, no. I don't support having men and women's sports.
Frank Friends, veteran of politics, court observer. By the way, those were my next two questions. You guys snaked. Right. So great questions. You said you're running for your district. We have really soft on crime judges right now. In fact, the dude just beat a 2-year-old to death and broke his legs because he couldn't walk. He's out on probation. What are you going to do to get in there to actually give justice to the people instead of worrying about the background, ethnicity, or sexual orientation of the offender? And how are you going to hold these judges accountable in your district to protect your people of your district?
I'd have to look if it's accountability. If it's what's written in the law, then the laws have to change. That's where the accountability comes in. Is it fair and at the discretion? There are some points where you do have to strengthen where those laws sit. If a man did beat a 2-year-old to the point where they are maimed from that point on, then it would be responsible to strengthen the laws that go against that person. Now, it would be a blanketed policy that would affect many people down the road. And while it's probably not popular on my end, I do believe we do have to be vigilant when it comes to issues like that. Nobody wants to see that happen. So I guess as far as accountability goes, a judge is going to act at their discretion. However, if the laws are structured so that the discretion is guiding them along, that's the best that we could possibly do on that end.
One of the hottest topics today is immigration policy. Most want an easier process for those to come here through legally documented processes and support humane law enforcement operations for those who don't. There's a lot of chatter going on these days within our state for those who would like to make it easier for those who are here undocumented to stay here and even become some sanctuary areas within the state. As veterans, we respect the rule of law. So what are your thoughts on supporting legislation for any type of sanctuary policies that would prevent Nevada law enforcement from cooperating with federal authorities when it comes to undocumented individuals?
I believe there are needs for sanctuary cities. If an illegal immigrant is committing crimes, then absolutely remove them from the city, deport them, do what you have to do. They're all eligible for due process. So when we find that happens, there's laws that say get them out. The INA tells you have to remove them. For those that are not offenders of anything besides not doing the paperwork, we got to look at considerably what else is involved. Some of them may not be citizens right now, but they are currently undergoing asylees. They're also going through the process of becoming legal citizens. See, and I've worked alongside of them. I'm sure everyone here has served alongside of an immigrant before. Sometimes it's not the easiest way to get through, and the process itself sucks. I understand what we can do on our end is to stand from our pulpit and say, hey guys, we'll call Congress, get your act together. Let's figure out ways we can do this to kind of streamline the process and make it more efficient so that the people that are here that want to become citizens aren't waiting 2, 5, 10 years. The ones that aren't, if they are illegal and they're committing crimes, then yes, we have a duty to get rid of them. But go ahead.
I want to be clear that I understand that your answer is that if a person is here that did not come here legally, snuck across the border, and they happen to get caught, that if they have not committed a crime other than crossing the border illegally, you're okay with them staying here and not being shipped back home?
Am I okay with them staying here? Not exactly. But what we can do is we can advocate and say, no, let's go this route. Let's try to get them on the process. If they don't want to go with the process, then yes, I believe go back where you were. It's fine. It's personal for me. My wife's an immigrant, and she's done the whole process.
Just for clarity, you're separating immigrant from illegal immigrant, correct? Thank you.
Just to be clear, you said that you do approve of sanctuary cities.
Sanctuary cities. So there is. Okay. Sanctuary cities, we do have law enforcement that is in charge of that. That's what ICE is, Customs Enforcement, Border Patrol. That's why we have them here. Our end for LVMPD or whatever police department we have there is if they're violent offenders, they pick them up, they detain them. Their purpose is to say, hey, ICE, come by and pick up your guy. He's all yours now, and there's a transfer there. Ours, it shouldn't be like it was in Minnesota. It was a tragedy the way it happened. It shouldn't be that openly violent. It shouldn't be that polarizing for that to happen.
So just to be clear, you support Metro contacting federal authorities if we have a violent offender in custody?
Correct.
Very good.
Yes. Right. No. I believe it, but like I said, I'm indigenous. So my thing is, yes, I can swing the spectrum as far as I need to for that narrative. But the truth is, if I look at things like, oh, where's Mexico? We're in Las Vegas, which is the Meadows in Spanish, which is a territory that was theirs first. Does it bode well for us to say you can't be here? Of course not. But at the end of the day, if they're committing egregious crimes, absolutely. We want safe streets.
Fantastic. All right, I'll touch on our right to bear arms. Okay. Second Amendment is sort of like always the elephant in the room. And, just to discuss a little bit, my daughter just turned 18. Brought her through a course for gun safety. Familiarity. I'm from New England. I can't pronounce it. Familiarity. and just to, basic understanding, learning about weapons and all that. And it's sort of like a lot of people, they fear what they don't understand. And now with my daughter, she's picked it up, and she has a great grasp and understanding of the Second Amendment, what it means, what it's all about, educated on that aspect as well. And she loves it. When we're going out to the range next day, loves it. She understands also for safety reasons as well. I just went through the CCW course here, for Nevada. And so, it's feel like it's a right, and it's also a responsibility. And so went through the course, did everything I had, fingerprints and all this. But it feels like, too, that we're getting hit on another end where there's a lot of chipping away at this Second Amendment, whether it's bills being passed here. I know I grew up in New England where it's like, my goodness, they want to outlaw Glocks now and this and everything. And they called Connecticut the Constitution state, which is a joke, on that aspect. But moving out here, you can see there's a lot more freedoms out here, which is fantastic. My question for you is where you stand on the Second Amendment. I know there's a lot of ranchers out here being, Nevada's really unique. Outside the cities, it's a lot rural. You have ranches out there, have a lot of hunters, subsistence. You have with the, a lot of the reservations out here as well. A lot of, and so with that being said is, where do you stand on protecting that Second Amendment? For us, a lot of the states, we have 29 states right now for constitutional carry, and it's growing. And so, and again, my question to you, sir, just where would you stand on that aspect there of the Second Amendment?
On the end of the Second Amendment, it's pretty simple. It shall not be infringed. That's what it's at. The only thing you can look at is what regulations can we do to keep them safer. Like I said, I could put a gun out here right now and say shoot, and it's not going to do it. We can look at what happened in Utah. Tragedy. Nobody deserves to die that way. But they're showing, well, the casing doesn't match the rifle that it came out of. Would I like to see something like a registry just like they have for handguns? Yeah, it wouldn't be unreasonable. But as far as taking them away, why? The Second Amendment, it's in there for a reason. It's like taking away freedom of expression, freedom of religion. It's not our part to do that. So no, where I stand with that, no, I'm a firm believer of those four words.
Thank you very much, John Brookhagen, Veterans in Politics. In the 2025 session, we saw significant government involvement in housing, including AB 540, directing over $130 million towards housing programs, along with ongoing discussion around rent caps, tenant protections, and even limiting large corporate ownership of residential property. On one hand, people want housing to remain affordable and accessible, especially for local families. But on the other hand, there's real concern that too much government intervention, whether through subsidies, price controls, or ownership restrictions, can distort the market and actually make the problem worse over time. So where do you draw the line between allowing the free market to correct housing prices and using governmental policy to intervene? And what specific approach would you take to keep housing affordable without creating long-term market distortions and concentrating control in either government or large corporate hands?
So the more I thought about that, my whole thing was restriction. As much as people don't like it, I'm a pipe fitter. 24 years. There was a time where I can go on there and I can save my money up and I can buy a house. And I can afford the mortgage. When rent becomes cheaper than a mortgage, it becomes a problem. So we'll start looking at things like, well, what do they do in California? They limit the amount of houses that get built. If we can control the surplus of housing, we can control the prices and drop them down more. If we can control the amount of people that can buy multiple parcels, it should drop the price, theoretically. I look at it this way. I will try to research and do everything I possibly can to control what the costs are and to drop them down. Everybody deserves a chance to buy their own home. Everybody does. So, yeah, what do I think? That restriction for me is probably the main factor that I see in this.
So you think controlling the surplus or building of housing will help with housing costs for regular families?
To be fair, the reason why costs go up is that the surplus drops. So the less houses there are, the more reason they go up. Doesn't help that we have large sports teams moving in now. Doesn't help that we have the Raiders or we have the A's coming. We'll have an NBA team. That'll cause more and more rising in housing costs. Every metropolitan area you look at, it's the same way. Phoenix is the same way. LA is the same way. San Diego. So the more that you actually have in surplus, the less people are going to want to buy because it's a buyer's market then. That's what we're attempting to do, is shifting the narrative from a sellers to a buyers.
Okay, during the first 100 days, if you're elected, what's the very first bill you would personally draft or sponsor when the session begins in 2027? In other words, what's your priority for a better Nevada for your district?
Senate District 20 is my opinion, the industrial hub of Clark County. We have 15 burners, and the same thing they do as far as the steam generation goes is create power for this entire area. My job is to actually do research and figure out what we can do to increase the number of burners here. If not, look at alternative energy sources and have more work for the American worker. Does it benefit my union? Of course it does. But it also benefit the towns that surround them, the stores that are in those towns, and the housing market in those areas also. My goal is to try to at least make it more energy sector, more production sector. I want manufacturing to go up there also. I want to see more of the warehouses that we have going from Apex up north to Mesquite. If you've driven it, that's what it is. It's all industrial and it's all warehouses. So what can we do to have more work for the people in this area? It'll be the right thing for everybody.
Thank you.
Frank Friends, Veterans in Politics and Court Observer. So our school education is trash. Our school safety is 50th. We have books in our library right now that grant kids under the age of 18 access to them, where it depicts a female who believes she's transgender getting her strap-on sucked on by another female. And in the book, both of these girls are about 14, 16. How do you feel about kids having access to these type of books without the parents' knowledge or consent? And what would you do to get this type of kink education out of our schools?
They're in school libraries?
Oh, yes.
Those don't belong in libraries. Now, would I like to see them removed? If that was the issue, then absolutely. It's pornography in one way or another. There will always be questions from children. There will always be issues when they're going to ask questions. I have a 13-year-old at home, and they are not as ignorant as we were at 13. They're progressively getting worse, and they're exposed to a lot more than we were because the power of the world's in their pocket. So for me, I would like to know what's there, what's involved, what's actually in the book. And if it's not appropriate, then yeah, we should put it on a restricted list.
It's a girl getting a strap-on sucked on by another girl. It's
Correct.
depicted in pictures.
Correct.
And they're 14.
Yes. Like I said, the power of the world, the power of the universe is right in their pocket. That's a problem that we currently have. Would like to see it I'd like to see it out of there. I don't want to see it in libraries like that.
All right.
He knows about the books. That's why.
Oh yeah. So so it kind of somewhat in that same vein, I guess. Under under current regulations, schools are generally directed to respect the students' preferred names or pronouns, and they can have a different name and pronoun from what their parents know about at home. Notifications to parents is treated as a secondary step, and if they have to respect the kids' wishes, if to not notify the parents. Many parents feel that there's, this kind of drives a wedge between themselves and the children that they're responsible for, and it interrupts or impedes on parents' rights to know what's going on with their children. What would be your thoughts on legislation that would say more that parents have to, unless there's something that really is documented that the child's safety is at risk, should there be a law to say that the parents have to be notified by the school what's going on with their child? And if the school really feels that there's a safety risk, let that be an issue for someone, an agency like Child Protective Services, versus the school making the decision to aid the child and keeping a secret away from their parents.
If a student's approaching a teacher with this and they don't want their parents to know, there's already an issue that we can already assess. We already know. We don't know to the severity or the degree of what's happening there. The best thing we can do I believe in legislation to force teachers to tell parents that their kid feels a certain way? There's a degree of trust that needs to go there with the students. Do we want to lose the student, or do we want to piss off the parents? The fact of the matter is, I talk to my son. I think the best thing we can do is talk with our children. And I believe that if I'm talking to my child and he feels a certain way, that he wants to be referred to in certain pronouns, he's going to tell me anyway. If we don't have that kind of relationship, then it's not a legislative problem, it's an in-home problem. Do I agree with it? To a certain extent. I do believe that lines of communication need to be open between the parent and the child in that aspect. So legislatively, I don't know if there's a whole lot that you can actually do besides getting into people's homes that way now. Am I controlling what happens in their home? And I don't agree with that. I don't want to. Government shouldn't be inside of your house.
So as a follow-up, just to be clear, using that same standard, because the school in this respect is still performing as an outside agency of what should be that healthy relationship between the parent and the child. So how is it that would then be okay for the school to make that same decision that you just mentioned that legislators should not be involved in?
If that's actually happening, and we have to trust, and I know it's a hard thing to trust the school district, but we have to trust that the school district has the best interest, inform the counselors, and actually allow this to have an open discussion. Now, we can always encourage the students to do so, but legislatively, if we tie their hands, we're no better than intervening on the way they handle business, personally business. I that's one thing I don't know if I can get behind on that. Involving CPS? CPS, absolutely. If there's abuse happening and they need to investigate, of course, I would alert them. Keep it on the mind of CPS that this is happening.
Just to. No. Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't want to go for the mic.
This is off the record. Just to touch a little bit more here with the in-class, with the classrooms situation here with Clark County and around here with Nevada as well.
is there's key challenges, including, and we all know teacher shortages, and low per pupil fundings, and the class there's like 21 students per teacher, within the classroom itself. And of course, it's affecting the student outcome, with their, reading levels, math levels, skills, as well. How they can address that. So, what are some of your thoughts about the shortages and about bringing in these teachers? Trying to get these trying to get these teachers into these classrooms here to relieve a lot of the burden here. What's going on right now with the classrooms?
So I thought we had weed money. That's what it was intended for, was to increase wages for the teachers, bring more in, decrease the student population per teacher. As far as funding goes, I'd like to see where I'd have to actually look at the budget for education and what actually comes from the general fund that funds that. The biggest thing I've noticed over the course of the last 6 years is that the education system now relies on Chromebooks. And as far as it goes, with us being as low as rated as we are, we've also removed a form of learning. I am not an individual who likes to go on the computer and learn. I like to look down, have books in my hands, highlighters, and go. And I can take notes, and I can read these notes. I think we need to have a hybrid of both of those. While it's more expensive and not I understand Chromebooks are cheaper, but I'd rather see more paper come home every day, something tangible I can feel, and a lot of students need to work on their handwriting for the same purpose. So yes, I'd like to see more money going that way.
Just a follow-up. Well, you touched on that. It's like also, too, a lot of these students, like my daughter came home, did not know how to write cursive.
Yes.
Oh, what's that? Oh, can you hear me?
No, I can hear you.
I'm sorry.
No, I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, did not know how to write cursive. Like I said, a lot of these 79% of the eighth graders do not meet math standards. It's like bringing back, like when we were at school, we were taught, a lot of it, writing, English. Also, too, we had math, we had science, civics, all this and everything growing up. It seems like it's gone away from that, but we need to start steering it back into, what the basic, and grounded fundamentals are with the school. I mean, Christ, we our generation, the generation before us, put a man on the moon. We can't even do that anymore. So it's like, what? Okay, I'm sorry. What? I mean, what your input? Your inputs on that? I'm sorry. Okay.
Can you? There's a lot there. Can you paraphrase that?
I was upset, when I saw that as a parent.
Okay, so my wife wrote a card for my son in cursive. Couldn't read it, which is like I was saying. With the way the school district works now, with us not having paper, I think it hinders our students. I think we need to have that and go back to that little aspect. Am I okay with him doing homework on a Chromebook? Absolutely. Less crap to bring home. But tangible paper where they can work on it and it doesn't look like they're writing with their feet. Granted, I don't have an excuse for myself. My handwriting's terrible. But yes, no, I think that's something that should be done. Yes. Implement more money to have it so that they are able to gain more skills while they're in school.
No, you're good. John Brookhagen, Veterans in Politics. Well, first of all, thank you for coming down for this endorsement interview process and the vetting process. Jeff Stone is not going to be running, and you don't have any Democratic opposition, so you're going to go right through to the general. You'll be running against Danielle Gallant, who also doesn't have a primary challenger, and I'm very disappointed that she's not here with us as well. I mean, I think this would be a great discussion to get your opposing views. But you are new to the political scene, and while she's not an incumbent, she does have a long track record in the Nevada legislature. She's also got releases videos constantly on social media. She's always very vocal, for lack of a better term. And I just wanted to know, what is it that makes you want to run against her? Is there anything that she has said in public that you disagree with, being she's from the opposing party, she works closely with the governor? And what is it that should make an independent voter look at you rather than her with her experience?
How long has she been in office? It's an honest question.
I know at least 4 years.
4 years. To be fair, again, I'm a union pipe fitter. I've been doing this for 24 years. I went to school here. I graduated from Cimarron Memorial, right down the street. My dad's been here since 82. He joined Local 525 before I did, back in 1985. My grandfather came here in 1961. I have seen the evolution of this state. I have seen the evolution of this town. And I've seen the evolution of the rural areas, going not only from Vegas to Mesquite, or Vegas to Boulder, or to Henderson, but from Henderson to Boulder City, from Vegas to Mesquite. I've seen the differences. What would make me change? I'm not a politician. I believe in two things: communication and transparency. While I may not be able to get a hold of everybody or respond, on the back of my card's my personal number. Please call me. I'll get back to you. My email's there. Please email me. I'll get back to you. All it's going to take is time. It's my duty as a candidate, and when I win Senate, it's my duty to take time for that. My job is to not talk at you, it's to be able to talk with you.
And with all due respect, I also have access to Danielle Gallant's phone number and email as well. What sets you apart from her? What has she said in the past that has motivated you to run against her as opposed to letting her have the seat with her experience? What is it about her that sets you apart from her, or that you disagree with?
That I disagree with? I'm running to help. If you've watched the videos, you know that she's an individual that says, I run for politics to put more exposure for the Republican Party. It's not about that. It's about helping the constituency. Do I believe she has the best interest? Well, God, I hope so. Not a lot of the things that were voted on really benefit myself, except for Senate Bill 82 and the changes for that over the last 9 years. The Apprenticeship Utilization Act. I thought that was a great bill. But what separates us? We don't have very dissimilar arguments sometimes, based on what I've seen. What made me run against her, though, is this is America. And at the end of the day, America, contests are good. This is what elections are for. We're not kingmakers here. We're here to sit back and we're here to say, hey, you got a choice. What do you think is better for you? I'm a union man. I'm a union rep, and I fight no matter what it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, artificial intelligence is beginning to impact the workforce, especially in service and administrative sectors. What role should the state legislature play in regulating AI use, protecting the worker privacy, and protecting workers from job displacement?
I had this conversation with my wife. Everyone's seen Terminator. AI is not something that we can outrun. It's going to be inevitable. We can put guardrails on there to limit it. As far as the work goes, everybody talks about the data centers and how bad they are for water. And I understand the point, the position in this state where water is such a scarce object. What I don't understand is, why don't we look at glycol? Propylene glycol cools everything from your cars to most people's large computers. Water's cheap. That's why they use it. I've installed plenty of systems that can contain glycol. It's not that it's not a problem. It's that it's an actual usage for it. So as far as AI goes, can we control it? Yes, of course. We can build more, and we can have Nevada workers operating in those sites. Is it consistent work? No. But it's a lot of upfront work, which would keep a lot of members working and a lot of other people working also.
Frank Friends, Veterans in Politics and Court Observer. So Nevada is in a unique opportunity right now with California acting as retarded as they are and kicking out Glock for weapons manufacturing. we could become an area that brings a Glock manufacturer here, increasing jobs, things like that. But we also can grow hemp. Hemp can be used for studs, drywall. It brings the R value of a home up and the flame retardantness of the home. Since you build, these are some things you might know. What would you do to try and get these types of things in Nevada to create the jobs and the textile formations that we could then ship out to the West Coast at a cheaper price because we're not taxing people the way California is?
So the benefit that I'm starting to see now is we have a lot of standing inventory for warehouses. So based on what I've seen right now is tax incentives are the way to bring more work here. And honestly, it's not. All it comes down to is what we're doing right now. We can sit at a table, we can hash it out with people like Glock and say, hey, this is what we can do. There's no sales tax here. We're not going to rape you over and we're not going to rake you over the coals to try to take as much money as we can from you. Build here with us. Help with our infrastructure, and we'll see what we can make work. That's what the reasonable thing to do is to say, hey, let's work together, and if we can't work, appreciate the time. And we move on to the next. As far as things go like that, yeah, we have that opportunity. I'd like to see the Paiute Reservation look into growing hemp because they have the standard. Not only do they have the standard, they have 3,200 acres up by Sky Canyon. They could do the same thing. It's not my district, but I understand. Business is business, and if you got to build it there, let's see what we can do to make that work. I'm going to schedule a meeting with one of the vice chairmen very soon for that reason. So it's not something that we can't do.
All right. So I'm taking into account something you said much earlier in your introduction about you mentioned that the climate of the state has started to change, and that motivated you to put your hat in the ring. So this question is kind of having that in mind. So with nonpartisans now being the largest voting bloc in Nevada, 47%, the road to victory depends on those voters and not necessarily those who share your party's label. Most people are tired of the partisan bickering. They're tired of the extremes on both ends. They're tired of people just voting a party line, regardless of what actually is the better solution. And so an idea may come from the other party, but they won't support it because it came from the other party. And many people are caught in the middle, like unfortunate stepchildren or something. So, and some things that you've already said, I kind of answered this question already. And so I want to kind of like just even dig deeper onto that. So rather than sticking to a party line, yours in particular, because that's where you resonate, nothing for or against that, just for the sake of the point. There may be times that there may be some solutions that maybe come from a person with the R behind their name, that sponsor it, that's better, that's good for the state. How can we count on you to cross the party lines and resonate with nonpartisan voters, even in your campaign, and to do what seems to be best for Nevada citizens?
You answer the question right there. It's what's best for Nevada citizens. Members of District 20, based on what I've noticed, are rural, agricultural, reservations, and we have a couple small cities involved also. My whole purpose is to be able to make their lives better any way that I possibly can, within reason. I have to look at what practicality is. If someone with an R behind their name at the end of the day has a better bill that I can come up with, if I can add something to make it better, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines and go, man, you Republicans you just want to screw us. No, man, if it's better, then let's talk about it. I've always learned, again, communication is the most important part of any kind of politics. Any kind of business, you got to be able to communicate. And if I can't talk to these guys about this and say, no, you're right, this is a good deal, let's roll with it. I'll put it on my end. If we can get it moving, let's get it moving.
So just to follow up on that, because of things I do know from behind the scenes, there could be pressure from I'll just say your side of the aisle, to caucus with them against what you may think is not in what you believe is right because you have to caucus with the party line. How do you, resist that that pressure to stay with your party line?
Again, communication's key. I'm a pipe fitter and a welder. Most of those people that know what we do it's sometimes you don't go with the flow. You have to step aside and stand up for something. Again, if my constituents have something or have something in that bill that's beneficial to them, then yes, I'm going to stand up for them before I stand up with the party. Period. That letter goes away when I go up there because I have to represent them.
All right. Well, that concludes the interview portion of this event. With that, we'd like to give you a minute for some closing remarks.
First, I have to thank you guys for the invite. To be fair, I've watched a couple of these and they're great. Your questions have been great. A couple have been redone, and I appreciate that. And it made me think about more than answers. Thank you all for your service also. I know you guys hear it a lot, but again, that's okay, Johnny. The door's right there. But again.
Well, he looked at me when he said, I don't want to have no stolen valley.
No. I understand. And like I said, I appreciate what you guys all do. And to sit here and take time out of your Saturday, again, that's huge. And I thank you guys again for doing that also. It was a pleasure. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the invite again. And do you mind if I talk to the camera?
Please do.
Hey, read all the stuff that's online, guys. It's okay. Bring toys because they're going to a good cause. If you have time, do it and show up on time also. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
All right. So that concludes today's event. Well, this portion, would like to again recognize and thank all of our sponsors: Mary Perry, Clark County District Family Court Division Judge, Department P, Veterans in Politics International, and Nevada Veterans Association, and all our additional sponsoring partners for the leadership, support, and dedication to the veterans and to the integrity of our non-judicial process. Thank you.
Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook.